Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine, and this week we're hearing the Albies, they don't want to quit. We're also hearing that the canal continues to put out good numbers of striped bass. We're hearing that Block Island has been awesome for black sea bass and cod. And of course, there was a Rhode Island state record blackfish taken this week. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
So let's start things off with that record tog. Tall Tales Charters had a patron out, and his name was Paul Newman, not the guy from Cool Hand Luke. And he caught the tog of a lifetime. I've checked this fish out. 21.57 pounds, good enough for the Rhode Island state record. And it was taken on a snafu rig. And I would check out their Instagram. Again, Tall Tales with a Z for the full story. But I mean, what a fish. And congrats to the angler and captain. I mean, just amazing fish. Let's move over into the freshwater world now, and the bass fishing continues to hold pretty well. Talked to a few guys who said that the cold weather last week made the bite a little tougher over the weekend, but over the last few days, things have warmed up and the fish are biting well again. I was out this morning myself, throwing the big baits. Had a lot of action, but only landed one fish. Not an impressive fish, but just shows that they're feeling aggressive right now. I've seen good results from guys I know fishing the Cape, fishing Rhode Island, and even up in Maine still. A lot of nice largemouth and some very good smallmouth fishing as well, including a very big smallmouth taken out of Wachusett Reservoir, up over 6 pounds. And then as we move over into the Albie world, as much as you and I might want to quit on the Albies, they are not quitting on us. For the last few weeks, they've been in Long Island Sound, and all the Albie afflicted have been heading into Long Island Sound. Well, they pulled a fast one on us, and they showed up heavy off Rhode Island with this warmer weather over these last couple days. I'm not going to spend a million years on this because, who knows how long they're going to stick around. But from what I heard, the action was very good, and it was big schools of Albies with a lot of action. So, the one thing I will say, we got some nasty weather coming on Friday, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is the best day of the week for Albies and maybe the last Albie day of the year in Rhode Island. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Now over in Massachusetts, things are starting to wind down finally up on the North Shore. Talked to James Jukes this week. He said they're still getting fish, but he hasn't seen a fish over 24 inches in a week. And it's starting to slow down. He says you really got to focus on areas that are going to focus the fish. So inlets, deeper holes, big points. Those are the areas where they're getting most of their fish right now. And again, you still have a shot at getting a slot-sized fish, but that window is closing quickly. As you come down the shoreline to Scituate, that's another area that's been hot all fall, and there's still fish there. They're still seeing blitzes, especially in the morning and the evening. But again, same as up there, not seeing a lot of fish that are over 25 inches. But there are a few in the mix, and topwater action has been pretty good for the guys out trying. Out on the Cape, haven't heard much from the boaters, haven't heard anything from the beach fishermen. I think a lot of the beach guys have closed up shop. The action that I am hearing about is in the harbors. So we're hearing, P-Town Harbor, Wellfleet Harbor, both had fish over the weekend. I would, put a few bucks on the idea that there's got to be some fish up in Pleasant Bay. And any of these other backwater areas are probably holding some fish as well. I know that the ponds out on the Vineyard have had fish. And as you move around the corner into Buzzards Bay, your chances get better. The water's much warmer inside Buzzards Bay. In the upper 50s still, even flirting with 60 in some places. Hearing about fish up to 25 pounds being taken, I wouldn't say with regularity, but they are around. And the other thing that we are seeing is we're seeing some gannets, we're seeing some sea herring around, and if you can find some of those sea herring, you got a decent shot at finding some better fish. A lot of these schools of better fish are shadowing the schools of herring, and you're going to hear more about that in the Rhode Island portion, but there's still some decent fish around if you're fishing Buzzards Bay and then heading west from there. Black fishing in Massachusetts continues to be awesome. Water's still pretty warm, so guys are still getting fish in somewhat shallow water, 20 to 45 feet or so. And still hearing about a lot of nice fish, a lot of 7-pounders, a lot of 8-pounders, and the occasional double-digit fish still being taken, and being taken more regularly than you might expect. The only other thing that's going on in Massachusetts is a little bit of tuna action. I don't really have many details, but guys fishing east of the Cape and out on Stellwagen are still picking away at some giants. And, as things get colder and rougher and later in the season, it becomes, more and more of a hardcore, expert type of a thing. But those fish are still there. And, the fishery still sounds like it's pretty good. Over in Rhode Island, striper fishing continues very good. And it's been more of a surf fishing thing, but I did hear more reports from boat guys this week. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that there have been some herring and some gannets around. And, when you see those gannets bombing bait like that, it really gets your heart pumping. So I did hear from a few guys that saw that going on and, jumped in their skiffs and headed out there on Sunday and did very well. Very typical herring bite, mixed sizes of fish from 20 inches up to 30-something pounds. Great topwater action. Heard a lot of stories about guys working topwaters just getting the plugs blown out of the water over and over again, but not hooking up. Probably, dominant school of smaller fish that are just having trouble taking the bait down, but every once in a while they'd get a, 28-inch fish, and then, all of them said that they had fish that they believed to be, in the low 40-inch class, not measured, just unhooked and thrown back, but action very good. There was a blitz at First Beach in Newport. I think it was on Saturday or Friday last week. And I heard about several blitzes on the beaches of South County last week. So that's kind of what's going on. There's a lot of different baits around, and there's many sizes of stripers around. You still have an excellent shot at getting a 30-plus pound fish in Rhode Island right now. And now it's really more a matter of how hard you're willing to work for them, because it is a feast or famine thing at this time of the year, but when you hit the feast, boy, you can really eat. The other thing that's continues red hot in Rhode Island, black fishing. Of course, we talked about the state record that was caught, but that's not the only big fish that was caught this week. There were fish in the 10 to 12 pound class reported, and then lots of fish in that 4 to 7 pound class reported. In my estimation, it's been one of the best years for blackfish that I've ever observed. I don't know if I'm just paying closer attention this year and it's been this good for a while, but in my estimation, this has been one of the best years and continues to be one of the best years in the time that I followed the fishery. Out at Block Island, we're hearing about great sea bass fishing. We're hearing about great cod fishing too. And a lot of times these fish are mixing together. You might also get some blackfish mixed in with them as well. And even some scup. There's still some scup around out there. So you could be fishing the East Grounds. You could be fishing Southwest Ledge. You could be fishing some of these lesser inshore ledges around the island. You could be fishing some of the wrecks. They all seem to have fish. They all seem to have mixed species of fish. And the action has been good by all accounts. So if you're looking to get in some bottom fishing action, or you want to jump on one of the head boats or charter boats out of Point Judith, be a great time to do it. The weather's phenomenal. Seas have been relatively calm, and the fishing's been great. And that's the story that I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Over in Connecticut, striped bass action is still very good around the Connecticut River, although that bite that was so famously going on for 3+ weeks inside the river has largely moved out of the river now. A lot of water was let out of the Holyoke Dam, and it muddied things up and pushed a lot of the bait out, and a lot of the bass went with them. So I don't doubt that there are still some bass in the river, but the better action now seems to be out on the beaches and out front on the reefs. So there are all sizes of fish represented out there. There's small fish, really small schoolies running the beaches, and there are some really nice fish being taken, especially at night. Guys throwing chunk bait, guys throwing live eels, surf fishermen throwing big metal lips and stuff like that are getting some nice fish. They're just working for them. One thing that I've been hearing from multiple sources is that there just aren't the same numbers of bunker around that they're used to seeing at this time of the year. Like last year, I guess there were miles of bunker in that region, and this year there are much smaller pods of fish, Pods of bunker like 100 or less. But when these guys are finding these pods of bunker, that's when they're finding the bigger bass. And so that's something to hang your hat on, whether you're fishing from the surf or from a boat or kayak or whatever. If you can find some of these smaller pods of bunker, you got a really good shot at finding the biggest fish of the month, maybe the biggest fish of the year. Heading west from there, the action continues to hold up in off of Clinton. So we're talking 6 Mile and Southwest and all those smaller reefs in that whole system out there, Duck Island and all those areas. Just really good action there. Mixing of bluefish in there. There's some sea bass mixing in out there. And the togging is also great there. That region right there has just been teeming with life and very productive. I talked to TJ from Rock and Roll Charters, and he told me, same thing. It's just the fishing's been really good. It's been much better than what you would typically expect for this many species, on November 10th. And then as you head west from there, we're going to talk to Max at the end of this, but the bass fishing out there continues very good. They're doing very well on live bunker out there, but plenty of fish being taken on top water, plenty of fish being taken after dark by surf fishermen throwing swimmers, darters, and things like that. Overall, the bass fishing in Connecticut is very good again this week. There's been some bluefish out that way as well. As, like I said, there's been some in the Clinton area, but if you want the big ones, you got to head out west. I'm sure Max will talk about that in his video too, but the diamond jigging out in that deep water around 11B and 28C always produces big fish at this time of the year. Got a good shot at getting some nice striped bass also, but serious bluefish tend to be in that area around this time of year. Black fishing has been very good throughout most of the state. The bigger fish typically are found in the eastern end, so from the Connecticut River east, and, very good fishing from like Niantic over to the Thames River and Sarah's Ledge and Goshen, and all those little spots in there seem to really hold some of the best bigger fish that you're going to find on the Connecticut side of Long Island Sound. But no matter where you're fishing right now, you have a very good shot at filling a limit and finding keepers, up to 5-6 pounds and maybe even bigger. But overall, just like everywhere else, the black fishing this year has just been as good as it gets. Doesn't seem to be slowing down. Water's still very warm. The fish are still shallow, and it's just been phenomenal. Black sea bass fishing has been very good also. A lot of the guys that run out of Connecticut are heading to blocks, so you do get a little bit of a skewed image of what's really going on in the Sound. But there have been very good black sea bass catches made in the Sound. You're just going to want to go a little deeper than you've gone typically for the blackfish. So you might get some mixing on some of the deeper spots, but if you hit these reefs, ledges, and wrecks out in 75 to 110 feet of water, that's where you're going to have your best shot at getting some of these bigger sea bass and also having a good shot at getting a limit of keepers. Now we're going to throw things over to Max from Fisherman's World and hear what's happening out their way.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. I just want to say happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service. We got a lot going on this week. We've had some big bluefish and big bass, and the bass are really starting to school up now and leaving our waters on their migration, and we got fish starting to enter in the Housatonic. Out in the deeper water, the diamond jig bite is really starting to get going. There's a lot of striped bass and some big bluefish in the mix. Locally, places like 28C and 11B. If you want to head east, you can diamond jig middle ground, the southerly can. Places like the Fingers off Can 18 has been hot for striped bass. These fish more than likely are starting to enter the river, and guys fishing the river from night are scoring on some nice fish. Locally on our waters, Campo Beach, Norwalk Beach, Sherwood Island, and the Southport stretch has been the hot spots. You can find some big gator bluefish and some nice bass mixed in, really hammering these bunker schools. These fish are putting the feed bag on. Our water temps really dropped now, and the blackfish bite is really getting going. Guys are doing good shallow and deeper water wrecks now. The deeper water wrecks are holding some nice fish. We've seen fish 8-9 pounds, and guys to our east are getting fish around 10-11. That's not every drop, but you are finding some nice fish in the 5 to 6 pound range. The porgies are still around, and they're definitely on our deeper water wrecks now and deeper water structure. 28C, 11B, and middle ground are holding some big porgies, as with sea bass. Thanks and good luck.
Thanks, Max. Always appreciate your enthusiasm, and your videos are great, man. Thanks very much. Now we're going to take a look at what's going on in the Coastal Kayak Clash. This week in the Coastal Kayak Clash, it was all about the blackfish. We had 3 nice ones hit the board. We had 2 at 25.5 inches, one by Rashawn Williams, one by Justin Oser, and we had a 24-incher logged by Scott Schneider. This shook up the leaderboard a bit. We got Justin Oser leading with 9 points, Bob Wagner in second place with 7 points, and Rashawn Williams also with 7 points in third place. The only thing separating the two of them is the fact that Bob Wagner entered a fish earlier in the tournament than Rashawn did. The fish of the month for November is the blackfish. Seems like it's going to be a pretty good battle coming right down to the wire. As we come into these final 2 weeks, we're going to have to see who can battle it out for blackfish supremacy. Stay tuned to see what happens. And to wrap things up, let's take a look at what's going on in the Dreamboat competition.
No change on the leaderboard this week, but the big news for the Dreamboat contest is the TOG entries are coming in. Casper takes the first place slot with his 13-pound entry. 3 other TOG entries fill the 7th, 8th, and 9th place spots, with Anthony's 9.4-pound fish, Richard entering a 8.25-pound TOG, and Jerry entering a 7.46-pound blackfish. Also, previous Dreamboat champion Sam Dibner gets in the game with his first place sea bass weighing in at 6.25 pounds. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge is the Fisherman subscriber-only multi-species fishing competition with a chance to win a new Steiger Craft Center console powered by Yamaha, along with many other great prizes. Subscribe now to the Fisherman magazine to be part of the action.
Last thing I want to mention is that you can now listen to this report as a podcast. So you can go on iTunes and search for the Fisherman magazine, and it's going to come up. And you can listen to me talk, and you don't have to look at my smiling face. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not a subscriber, head over to the website, www.thefisherman.com, and just check out what's going on over there. We got a lot of free content. You're going to get a pretty good look at what we do, covering the region from Delaware all the way up to Maine. We've got reports that cover that entire area. It's definitely worth a subscription. So head on over there and check us out. And good luck this week. Hopefully these reports point you in the right direction. And we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for watching.